Hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk episode 687, recorded today, Wednesday the 13th of October. Hopefully there'll be no gremlins for a 13th. I guess it's not Friday, so maybe we'll all right. It's a music technology podcast. You can find audio versions on Spotify, on Google, on Alexa, on all the usual places where you get your audio stuff. We're also streaming this live to Facebook Live and Twitch. If you want to see pre-show, I was just going through a few presets and a few thoughts of the Ash and Sand Machine's Hydrosynth Explorer, and that was all lovely. You'll be able to see that on the Patreon pre-show, which I will throw an ad for here. This is actually the music you're also hearing from Chris from Battery Opera Orchestra, CZ101 extra bonus 40 minutes of CZ101 appreciation he posted to Patreon, which you can find by going to patreon.com/Sonicstate and helping us out by supporting us. You can see his thing. This is just a clip from that particular video, which I think...
Today we're going to spend a little bit of time with the Casio CZ101.
There we go. That's what's known as a tease. Oh, look at that. We've had a lovely... oh, well, let's have a look. No, it hasn't worked yet. Super sticker. Nice to have a super sticker from Wagyu. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Earth, Captain Kirk. Oh, yeah. Did he go to space? Has Captain Kirk actually been into space? He made it because he was a 90-year-old astronaut whose fictional life was in space, actually went into space. That's a bizarre. Anyway, let's not worry about that too much. Say hello to all our friends in IRC, including Wagyu. Thank you very much. That's YouTube chat, IRC, and also Discord. Not Discord, yeah, Discord and Twitch. There's a stream there. I want to say thank you very much. Also, we have, well, let's say hello to our guests. We haven't seen Gaz for a little while. Gaz Williams there, me. I don't know. Do you update that? Is that even worth mentioning? Gaz Williams. That's completely the wrong link. I should put Gaz Williams of the Gaz Williams Show on YouTube. How's that? That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, that's yes. Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you very much. Been like busy as busy can be. Mad load of rehearsals for lots of different things.
Great.
Yeah, which is good. But I mean, I had to do like a endless summer rehearsal and gig as well. That's the live show that we do, accompanying the classic 60s film with the Rumbelows. The Endless Summer, the surf film. It's an hour and a half show. Also an hour and a half Pop Dungeon rehearsals. And also I'm going on tour.
Blimey.
In November. Yeah, with Martin Carr, him of Boo Radley's fame, Wake Up Boo and the like, supporting Charlatans on their 30th anniversary tour. So we got 19 dates across 30 days, I think. So
wow,
across the UK, Brixton Academy, some great gigs there. So if you're coming out to watch the Charlatans, make sure you come early to watch Martin and watch me come up to you. But that's great though, because we're getting to play some of Martin's great songs he did with Boo Radley's, but some of the stuff that he did as Brave Captain and also under his own name. Great songwriter, Martin. 4-piece band and keys, guitar, vocals.
Wow, so busy. I mean, you're kind of like back with a vengeance, like big style.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's just constant. It's constant. It's like 4 days of rehearsals, 3 different acts.
Wow.
Actually, 5 days. How
can you remember?
I know. So
what's that? There's that tree, isn't there? It's a ginkgo tree. The ginkgo tree. You need one of those in your garden because apparently the ginkgo, which is a really old tree, which is supposed to aid your memory, so you probably need to eat some of those leaves. I'm told it's supposed to be some kind.
I was thinking you meant the Rock Family Tree by Pete Frame.
No, I wasn't.
That's a very different thing.
Yeah.
But just one little thing on this stuff, though. I've got a pedal board, which I'm going to make a little video about my touring pedal board, I think. And there's about, 9 or 10 pedals on there. And I'm using them all. Everyone, not at the same time, but in both the Charlotte Church Pop Dungeon and Martin's. So it's not just for show; they're all getting used. Latest addition on there is an Electro Harmonics Grand Canyon delay. It's got an absolutely brilliant shimmer delay on there, which
on bass.
Yeah.
Okay. Why not?
Quite a bit as well.
Let's have an infinite freeze on bass. That's what I think. I think that's a good idea. I think there's probably not enough that in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely to see you, Gaz. Also, we have Mr. Matt Hodson, who's a producer, maths at maths.com. artist, maker of videos, all sorts of stuff. How are you, Matt? I haven't seen you for ages. Oh,
Yeah,
also, actually, while I should plug, because both of you guys feature on the Sonic 001 compilation album, which you could still buy. Down there, Matt's track, Hanker, and Gaz's track. I've got it listed here. Destination Next Century. So, yeah. How are you, Matt? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a bit like Gaz. I'm sort of being a musician again. I've just done 3 live shows. Opening up for Sonic Boom and Lone Lady from Warp Records, and then I did Rival Consoles as well. That was a really big, good gig as well. So I've just been doing that. Just been out playing live in various places, putting out music again, doing my 1 track a month, doing music videos, rewiring my whole studio. It's a complete mess at the minute. I'm just consolidating all of my Eurorack stuff into one big monster case, which will debut on my YouTube channel next week, as I'm going to be doing more sort of live streams.
You're going large.
Going large, yeah. I've got too many small cases and things dotted around all over the place, and it's just getting a bit annoying. So I'm just going to put it all in one. And I'm actually got this huge case I've had built for me, and it's going to be fixed to the wall, basically. So I'm getting rid of my desk. I'm going to be stood up all the time. Eurorack, wall of Eurorack, basically, and some foot pedals and things like that. So, also been busy with BIM. My new students have just arrived.
Of course.
Great hanging out with them as well. So
much. Suddenly, it's like all massive. Wow. That sounds pretty full on. I just want to say thanks to Ben Breslin for Superbooth 22 beer tokens, which is actually coming up much quicker than we thought. It's going to be in May. I mean, assuming everybody's ready for that. Well, lovely to have you both. We've got actually a few topics to go for. Just while I've still got you, coming up on Sonic, I've just done a great piece, just finished editing that with Yoad Nevo on, he's had his Atmos system installed, and we basically said, so what's Atmos all about? So it's kind of part of our How It Works series on Atmos with Yoad Nevo, which is really good. I've also got an interview with Keibu, who is Finland's synth whiz. I'm just putting that to bed, so that'll be coming up quite soon, so stay tuned for all of that. Obviously, Anyway, well, I guess we could do some topics, right? Because there are some. I know there are, because I remember writing some. Let's see, what's the first? Oh yeah, I think this is actually pretty cool. I fast forwarded this. This is called BERNA 3. It's a sort of 1950s electronic music studio, which is using kind of oscillators and filters and, kind of old school style, and just using those components with a very comprehensive patch bay. This is the 3rd version. I think they started it back in 2006, maybe. So about the same time as Sonic Talk started. So it's been going that long. Certainly a long time. I might have got that date wrong. But it's a series of plugins that allows you to kind of emulate the vibe of a 1950s synth studio or electronic music studio, which I think, when we talk about limitations, it's actually kind of a cool idea. So I'll just throw the page up here. So this is by a chap called, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name right, Giorgio San Cristoforo. Oh, actually that was quite easy. It's a standalone early electronic music studio. Simulation has equipment inspired by those used in Milan's RAI studio, which is one of the early, RAI Studio de Fonoglia. I'm really suffering with the pronunciations, and Cologne's WDR, which are quite classic ones. I'll come to you first, actually, Matt, because I know you probably teach some elements of this in your electronic, because it all started with this stuff. I mean, this is a great idea, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a great idea to give this kind of basically any sort of electronic music that we teach. We always try and contextualize it about where it's come from, what we know about it, and how we've got to where we are today. It's all really important, because where we are today is going to be talked about in the future, and helps contextualize where we're going and that kind of thing. So this is really great. And I must admit, I think this is something that we might even look at trying to get installed on our computers at BIM, because it'd be great to have students playing around with this kind of stuff. Imagine trying to get the hardware of this and
impossible.
All that down, let alone carry it about. And 25 quid, I think this is.
Yeah, 25 euros. It's really a bargain.
It's nothing.
25
Do you know what?
euros.
When I first looked at this, for some reason, I thought this was some kind of collaboration with Heimbach. I mean, you look at his videos, he's always playing around with these
making music with test equipment. Well, actually, funny you should say that. I've got a little treat of that. That's another part of this topic coming up. But yeah, I mean, that's probably not a bad idea. It'd be a great challenge for your students, wouldn't it, to sort of go, well, look, guys, this is what you would have had then, so use this plugin, see what you could do. Interesting.
Yeah, this sort of less is more, and working with software or software emulations of hardware that you would never get to play around with. It's inspiring. It can be fun. I think there's tape looping stuff in there as well as the kind of test oscillator equipment. And, I'm also one who's been fortunate enough to work with the original Radiophonic Workshop. I was with them in Peter Gabriel's studio, and to see some of the classic equipment that they've used. Actually, they took a few things on tour with them. But, when I was spending time with them, it's just inspiring still to hear how they're talking about their approach to music and things like that. So, I like the look at this. Really nice UI as well. The user interface looks really nice. I'm not sure quite how it all patches together, though.
Well, I think that's... there is like a matrix, which I don't actually have the screen grab for, but there is like a big matrix, which isn't quite so beautiful, but it's pretty cool. I don't know, but as you were saying, Matt, Gaz, Heimbach has a penchant for using test equipment to make music, as we know.
I remember though, Nick, we did actually cover BERNA 2 on Sonic Talk some years back, and actually, I'm glad you sent me this because I remember I bought it straight away and then promptly forgot all about it. So I've just been scouring my email now, trying to find the kind of code for it. But yeah, we were equally enthused about BERNA 2. Just be aware, everybody, though, it isn't a suite of plugins. It is a standalone. It isn't a VST. It is a standalone piece of software.
Okay.
You'd have to use Soundflower or some other kind of means to patch across if you wanted to sort of plumb it into your system. But yeah, we were. Yeah, when was it? I think by 2011. I think it was a long time ago. So you are allowed to forget these things.
I'm heading towards my forgetting years, more forgetful years, shall we say? But it was interesting what you mentioned because I don't know if it's there. It looks like those are there, which are the B&K 21. Now, what are they called? The Bruel and Kjaer 2107 bandpass filter, which I will just give a plug for Heimbach because he did.
In my recent video on how to make music with test equipment, I mentioned that Bruel and Kjaer units are pretty hard to come by now, because they're known to be good and that they will music. But
Right, I encourage you to watch that, actually. That's a really, let me see if I got, I'll post that in the show notes right now.
Those things are massive though, aren't they?
They are. I've used one. I remember... when I was working with Goldfrapp, they had to do a remix, and it was called the We Are Glitter mix, which I can play a little bit of before it probably won't. I can't remember how it was used. I remember we were working on the program, and Will had this thing, and he was just turning the dial, and it was this incredibly tight cue, and it was just going, oh. And I think if I play a little bit of it, it might come out. I'll probably get busted for this, so I better talk over it, even though I played on it. I think some of this went through the B&K 2107. And that's my Lieutenant Pigeon drums that I put in there as well. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely massive. It's one of those really beautiful things. I don't. Have you ever been in the presence of that sort of test equipment, Gaz? They're kind of the sort of things people collect them, and you just see them, and you just go, I want it just as a thing, right?
Yeah, not directly, but I mean, some friends have got bits and bobs. Frank Norton, especially, is a collector of the weird and wonderful. He's my bandmate in Rocket Goldstar in Cardiff. He's got a huge all-band radio, so it sort of you get to hear everything. So as you can just like
all at the same time.
Frequencies. Yeah, sort of a very weird thing. But no, I haven't, but I'd love to. So I mean, where is the best place? Where is the best place, like museum, or where you can get hands-on access to this kind of stuff?
Well, there's that place in Utrecht, isn't there? And I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's one in Holland, and I've forgotten the name of the chap because he's just built this. It's like in a community studio, and I think it's Utrecht, and it's just full of this kind of stuff. The whole thing is built on test equipment. I know there's a local guy, Charlie Jones, who's a bass player of some note, and he collects this kind of stuff, like test equipment and those big Wimbledon sort of audio mixers with the things that have got knobs that are this big, which I just think are great things to have, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of radios, have you seen that plugin that's just called Radio, and it's just a VST that brings in radio stations straight into your DAW, which you can then obviously run through like glitches or effects. I think Plugin Boutique sell it. It's only like £8, and I think it's just you can just tune through different radio stations, and you see the waveform coming into your DAW. And I was playing around with this, and I was sending it into. I've got the Nebulae by Qubit, which is a granular processor, stereo granular processor. And I was just chucking radio station into it, and it's coming up some pretty cool stuff. Didn't know if anyone had used that. Maybe
I haven't. No, I'm just trying to find, because I bought this amazing. I bought this amazing big chunk of Bakelite, which was like an air purifier. And it's just a really beautiful thing, and the Bakelite is like this thick on it, and it's got one of those sort of very positive. I'm not going to plug it in because it'd probably take the house electrics down. I was just trying to find a picture of it, but I can't. So
actually,
that's
why you're doing that, Nick. Actually, that reminds me. Everybody in the chat room who's watching right now, it was Nick's birthday yesterday.
Monday.
Thank you. So everyone in the chat room wants some big capital. Belated happy birthday to Nick.
Oh, you're too kind. Yeah. I was trying to forget.
I hope you had a great one.
It was. I went to see the Bond movie at one of those Tivoli cinemas where it's like a kind of cinema where you can get food and drink brought to you while you're watching the films. Really good, actually. I enjoyed the experience. Bond movie was very Bondy. Not as good as Casino Royale, but still a pretty good effort, I would say. So I
nearly went to see it last night.
Worth a view. It's worth seeing. It's one of the better ones. It's not as good as the first one, though. But yeah. Okay, I should probably... it's probably about time that I should just have a little word from our friends over at Modular. Their Cobalt 8, as we know, is still there. It's an 8-voice virtual analog synth with innovative oscillator and 34. Actually, I keep saying this. I must find out how many. 40 algorithms at least, I think. Morphable 4-pole ladder filter, 29 less encoders for real-time control, internal sequencer and arpeggiator, MPE support for expression, modal app for Mac, Windows, iOS, Android, and VST3AU. You want to find out more? Head over to bit.ly/get_Modal. I still get that wrong after all this time, but anyway, thank them very much for their continued support of the show, and they're one of the manufacturers still managing to get their stuff out there, so obviously they looked ahead. Okay, what was the next topic? I must go back to my my screen. So there we go, that one. Oh yeah, this is now. I'm probably going to get busted for this, but what the hell? Let's try it. So I'll press that now, and then I'll press this. This is Michael Jackson's Thriller. I don't know where they got this.
You start to freeze.
And then all together. Oh no, it's not all together yet. There's loads of them.
You start to freeze.
And when you hear the top one.
Now together.
You start to freeze. And so it looks you right between the eyes. Thriller.
Okay, we better stop that because we'll get busted. This was this is again one of Midiera, Chris's great posts on Sonic. You found this, and it's just a really interesting piece of. Occasionally, these multi-tracks sort of end up out there, and I don't know where they got this one, but obviously Thriller, produced by Quincy Jones. But there's the whole sort of bits of it, and they're broken down, and it's really interesting. When they're put together, it sounds like there's more than was recorded. Is that something? I don't record harmonies. I have no idea how it works. It's often the way, though, isn't it? When you kind of put voices together, they become something other than just the way that they are together, right?
Yeah, I mean, each part here is at least double tracked, I think, though, as well. So
yeah, they're all double tracked. Yeah,
yeah,
we just get played one of each.
Yeah, but it is interesting, isn't it? Because I do loads and loads of harmony recordings, either of my voice or of certain other singers or lots of different people. And therein is something quite interesting, is that when you sing on your own voice, there's almost like your voice has its own sort of thumbprint in a way. So when you sing another harmony onto it, it kind of melds into it in a way that's very different from somebody else's voice singing a harmony part, meaning almost that when you build up something out of your own voice, you get something that's kind of very full and solid and dense, quite different. When you record different people, their voices are very kind of separate, and the harmonies kind of are more layered on top of each other, as opposed to your own voice kind of creating this solid massive voices. I mean, obviously the master Jeff Lynne of ELO is great, you know, he and a big part of that ELO sound is his voice,
right, the way that he does it,
tracked up.
Yeah,
but that thing particularly about your kind of vocal cords having a certain sound,
I guess, as Peter Pepper I won't say it. Peter Pepper put something in the YouTube chat. God, that sounds like I'm a tongue twister. He said it's because they share the same formants, which is actually probably a very, very key point, actually, very important point.
That is the key point. Yeah, good. So I mean, I think it's just quite interesting with these Michael Jackson ones, for instance. Obviously, it all being his voice, you get that kind of that solid thing going on there. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love doing harmonies. So this is really inspiring, actually, and just to hear how he does it. Some of those examples later on in that little video where there's the very key harmonies. It's the highest top lines that are the one that kind of give it the really distinct.
And he goes really, really high. I mean, really, you're kind of like, oh my goodness, that's high. Yeah.
So I was curious. One thing I didn't know, or I still don't know really, is how much kind of Quincy Jones would have been involved in those harmony choices and layering process, or whether that was something that was much more kind of brought from Michael. I think on some of the extended versions of Off the Wall or Thriller, I remember hearing sort of demos where he was beatboxing all of the drums as well in these kind of demos.
Wow, what a joy. Well, I mean, Quincy Jones was very famously, you know, I mean, he started out as big band, didn't he? Was it Count Basie he worked with? And he was studied under Pierre Boulez. You know, I mean, he's really musically, he's got the chops, so he should know, I suppose. And that would make sense. So maybe it's just, you know, he just sort of maybe enhanced it a bit. And I know Michael Jackson's obviously very... one thing that I thought was great is it's so nice to have a story which is just about the guy's talent, because it all got obscured with all the other crap, didn't it? Which was, so it's nice just to kind of listen to it.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, absolutely. But just on the idea of harmony, though, you know, the way that you space the harmonies and the way that you layer them is, or, you know, the actual voicings themselves, whether you do kind of jazz voicing with kind of more extended harmonies leading leading the harmony. It's a real skill. It's an amazing thing. But it's, someone said in the chat room, you know, that Hakon said groups of singing brothers and sisters often sound great because of the kind of similarities in their voices, which that's another.
Or people who've known each other for a really, really long time, because there was a documentary about Simon and Garfunkel who were totally influenced by the Everly Brothers. That was their sound, but because they'd known each other since they were 11,
13,
so they've been playing.
11, right? Wow.
Yeah. So they've been playing music together for all that time. So you get the same, you know, intuition and stuff, I guess.
Bonus points, Nick. What were they called?
What?
Before Simon and Garfunkel, as Simon and Garfunkel, what was their original act?
I don't know. I didn't see the whole thing. What was it?
Tom and Jerry.
Ah, okay. Nice. It's good though, this, isn't it, Matt? I mean, you know, whatever your thoughts about all the rubbish surrounding MJ, nice to hear a bit of talent and raw talent going on there on such a classic track.
Let's also not forget that Rod Temperton was also partly responsible for this. He actually co-wrote the song, and Rod was actually from my neck of the woods. In fact, he lived in the very town that I frequented a lot as a kid in northeast Lincolnshire. In fact, there's a few few social clubs you can go in up there, and there's a plaque on the wall with his name on it. So he would have had a bit to do with this.
That's true.
Like Gaz says, I'm always interested to know, how much was this of Michael and how much of it is it co-writing with other people. And I mean, this was 1980. I think this is around 1982, 81, 82 probably.
I don't know, actually.
And
that's good.
How many vocal tracks we got there? We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 11 tracks there already. So this would have been, this would have been on a big SSL console with 24 tracks, I imagine. How many vocal tracks do you think there are? And I'd be really interested to know, if how many. Well,
the comp is at the top, but we don't know, and we don't know the provenance where they came from. I mean, I would guess around then. I mean, it sounded analog because of the crosstalk and the wobbly stuff. I would guess they probably would have slaved a couple of Studas or Ataris together for 48. I would imagine, but that's a guess.
Have you seen the multi-track for Bohemian Rhapsody?
No.
Either of you? It is bonkers. Have you got it, Gaz? Because some of the tracks you've got a bit of vocal, and then it stops, and then it goes to guitar, and then it'll be blank for a bit, and then some more vocal will appear, and then it'll be like a hi-hat. And it's just, you can just imagine them when they were mixing it down. There would have all been hands on the desk saying, like, that one down, that one up, no, bring this out. It's just, crazy stuff. Probably
would have been pre-automation as well, as I would guess, a real hands-on affair. Yeah, really nice though. I just thought it was a great thing. Also, in the same article, there was another video which was after the last time we talked about chiptune, which is a good link. So this is Cytone. This is his chiptunes version of Thriller. Very well-known Japanese chiptunes producer. Genius. I mean, he's using oscillating tones to create the chords. Just brilliant piece of work. But there seems to be an impression that none of us like chiptunes, and that's not true at all. It just doesn't move me in the same way that other stuff does. But anyway, I played some, for goodness sake. So
I know Super Mario theme tune comes on, and suddenly I'm taken right back there. That moves me. But I know what you mean. There's that nostalgic link to people who experience growing up with computer games.
This is the thing. This actually links to my next topic, which is quite
segue.
I've got a little segue. Well, not a segue, more of a electric scooter. But yeah, so there's a Chiptune documentary, which was out in 2006, but it's quite an interesting. It's just an interesting piece. This again was found by MIDI Error. It's called 8-Bit.
We are probably the first generation of people to have grown up where video games played an important role.
The film by Martin.
In our childhood. So it was sort of, we have been almost a peripheral influence where we may not have even realized.
I'm into video games because I like video games and I play video games all the time, and I grew up.
So this is just the trailer. Actually, I didn't realize this, but over on, let me see if I can find it. Over on Vimeo, you can do on demand and you can rent it for $2.20. I didn't know they did rentals, but it looks kind of like fun. So if you're into chips, but really, I mean, I put this in there because I was just really interested, and you basically said this because you were a gamer. This whole genre was the soundtrack to many of hours that were spent in your youth. But I know you guys were a gamer as well. I wasn't really a gamer, so that's probably why it doesn't kind of resonate so much with me. The only gaming I really did was a bit of Nintendo, whatever that the little one, Game Boy, and that was just while I was sitting in airports and stuff. So, Gaz, I know because you're a big, you game, and presumably, did you game at the time when chiptunes were the soundtracks to those games as well, or did you get into it later?
100%. Yeah, and I mean, I had a Spectrum and a BBC Micro, so the Spectrum famously just had a single voice sound chip, and the skills that composers were exhibiting of being able to kind of create all these weird little interrupts within a single voice to make it sound, in fact, like polyphonic music. There's some incredible techniques and skills that went on in that, and it made for unique music. But I think back then we didn't necessarily have the culture where we could kind of recognize those people as genuine, innovative composers. It did seem a little bit it's kind of lowbrow, well, to the wider world. But they were there were key composers kind of working in that field. Sometimes it would be the person who's writing the game itself, or there would sometimes be people brought in to do the music. More often than not, it would be the person who was doing the game, because not only would it have to be the
They'd
music,
understand the technology.
Well, it would be the sound effects as well, like any gun, any jumping noises, shooting noises, explosions and stuff would still all have to be going on at the same time as the music. I think with the BBC Micro, I think it was a 4-channel sound, I think it might have had.
Well, the Commodore chip got, I think it went 4 and 16 ultimately, didn't it? But I don't know enough about it, so...
So, I think what's kind of interesting is for these, is for this era and for people to be kind of recognized for their amazing work that they did, given the ridiculous kind of limitations. But of course, I think it really, you wouldn't have Aphex Twin or Square Pusher or people like that really, who, if this whole kind of music hadn't have happened. I'm fairly sure, they're both of the same sort of age as me, from the same kind of home computer game era. I
know Cenk's massively into Cenk from the formerly Electron. He's really into that,
Mr.
and he's
Dataline.
And Mr. Dataline, yeah, he's actually released some sample packs from the Commodore chip, I believe, for Octatrack and Dig
Well, of
Attack.
course,
If you'll check him
the
out.
first ever Electron product was the SID station.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true.
The Commodore 64 sound chip. Now, I thought you hated it though, Nick. I thought you.
No, it's not that I hate it. It doesn't do enough for me. It's kind of
right.
I mean, because this is the thing that I find interesting, because it was done through necessity, and as you said, a lot of the people that were doing it were kind of programmers, so they weren't necessarily motivated by making great music. They were just motivated for making some music that would go along with the game. And I wonder whether or not that's almost like so then the perceived art comes for afterwards, because it wasn't made necessarily. And I am generalising. I mean, I realise that some people were, but I suggest that at least some of these games, the music was made through necessity, in the same way that John Carpenter did some of the things for his film, because he just thought, I don't want to have to deal with a composer and I know a bit about it. Probably he's less so because he was musically motivated as well and musically creative, whereas some of this other stuff was sort of pretty plinky plonky, and the musical wasn't great. It was just what it was.
I used to go to this computer club for a total nerdy thing to do when I was a teenager, and we used to share tunes. Like I remember getting Ghostbusters done on the BBC, done really, really well. I wonder if that's on YouTube.
Of course it is.
Yeah. But again, I think there's an economy at work here.
I know, I get that. The limitation is there. It's just I just wonder whether the initial spark was through just sort of, oh, that'll do. It's like I've got to decorate the flat I'm renting out really cheap. I'm going to paint all the walls magnolia. That's fine. The equivalent of that, So Matt, I know you feel the same way, because you obviously grew up with this stuff and it's formative. I mean, I wonder whether or not we'll have the same fond memories of the current generation of games, which are sort of massively orchestral and more bombastic, as technology has allowed us to do that.
I don't know. I mean, this has that sound. This really encapsulates a particular sound, whereas, GTA 5, well, actually, most of its radio stations of well-known pop songs and things like that, which shows you exactly where we've come on to. But this was a sound of its time, and it was a necessity, but necessity can form art as well. And, we talk about BERNA earlier, and that was like early forms of electronic music there, using out of necessity what equipment they had there. So it's kind of like looking like that. I mean, have you seen a piece of software called Little Sound DJ, which is basically a tracker you can install on a ROM and play it in the Nintendo Game Boy. So you basically got, I think, 4 channels, 4-bit. You got kick, snare, drums, that kind of thing. That's it. And you can do kind of speech synthesis, basic stuff, and that kind of thing. And that's kind of fun if anyone wants to get into that, and then just send the audio out and you can play a gig doing that. I've seen those sort of things. You play around with the waveforms and that kind of thing. So it is really interesting. But I also wonder at the time, because obviously they only had so much space on that cartridge. And what still typically happens today, it's like they spend all the budget on the visuals, and then it's like what's left over for the sound. So can you imagine for the sound, they would like, well, let's give them 8 bits. Is that enough? 4 maybe? You know, I can just imagine those sort of conversations.
Well, I remember the same because I mean, I did sound and music for CD-ROMs back in the day, you know, and we had 8-bit 22K to play with mono. Oh, that's all we had. And you know, which was still a whole lot better than chips, because obviously I could make the whole music out of multi. You know, I mean, I could make a full mix and have all of that stuff, and then just bounce it down, and you know. But that's what it ended up as. So yeah, there was a lot of process. I mean, that's no longer an issue.
I mean, on a personal note, I'd like messing around with bit crushers and stuff, and aliasing in the computer and that kind of thing, downsampling things to get a different. You know, kick drums through an old Akai S950. What's that? That's probably 12-bit or something. Not 8-bit, 12-bit.
12,
yeah. And I love doing that kind of thing. But just listen to pure chiptune songs. On a personal note, yeah, I won't really go to a gig. I mean, all you've got to do is walk around Brighton Pier, and most of the arcades is like 8-bit sort of screaming at you.
And they've got big. Some of those have got really big speakers in as well, haven't they? Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. All trying to grab your attention, and coin sounds going off left, right, and centre. You've only got to walk around that 5 minutes, and you just come out and you're exhausted. So, yeah,
interesting. I guess it's fairly.
I get it.
It's fairly timbrally challenged, isn't it? This ties in a little bit, Gaz, actually. I mean, because the SP404 Mark II came out today,
yes,
I think it was announced, which is, for those who don't know, is a kind of portable sampler. But what was really interesting about that is you'd see that in lots of fairgrounds, because people would use it to play Hold Tight, Let's Go, Scream If You Want to Go Faster, all of the kind of samples that would play back during the fairground rides. And that was, I mean, as well as it was huge for hip-hop guys as well, and gals.
Well, one of the longest running pieces of music technology possibly ever in Roland's catalogue. I mean, it had a reskinning in the kind of IRA era.
Yeah, good. I like that.
As a product of the 404, it went through another change. I think it became. Did it go from some other the original storage cards that they were using to SD cards? I think at some point, but by and large, the thing had remained unchanged until. Well, today now with the launch of the Mark II, more or less, you know, the same thing. And what's interesting about this Mark II is that they've tried to kind of keep so many things of the original.
2005. That's amazing.
2005.
Wow.
That's long, isn't it, for a music tech product? Yeah, especially from a company like Roland, you know. One thing is missing, though, for 404 fans, no built-in microphone. This wasn't actually a topic, but I just thought it tied in nicely with the arcade chiptune thing. Yeah, it's actually very cool. Just one thing on computer games before we go, I move that topic. I just wanted to just give a little shout out to the game Lemnis Gate. It's a new game, but I've never played anything like it. It's a time loop, and you take it in turns, almost like a turn-based thing, but you play your go in real time. Sorry, that's just for the gamers out there who've not tried it. Lemnis Gate. I think it's maybe the most interesting one I've tried in years. But we go.
Like I say, because the thing, I spend so much time on computers figuring out how to do things on them. That's my gaming thing, you know, because I program. Yeah. So I suppose that's where I get, and I would probably spend an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out how to, you know, get a Raspberry Pi to upload a video to YouTube, for instance, you know, whereas somebody else might do, you know, in one go a full action game. So I suppose that's where I go anyway. Okay, right. So what's next? I think we've got what's that? Number 6. Is that the right one?
You should make a record.
Totally.
They were gaming too, incidentally. Nice, short and sweet, no messing about. I quite like that. These are the new Universal Audio Bolt USB C interfaces that are very pretty, quite utilitarian looking. It got a sort of slight 80s / 90s laboratory style, but they've got there's 2 models that have just got a sort of vintage warming circuit in them, and then 3 models which go up to 4 ins and 4 outs, which have also got 1176 style compressor. Obviously, these, they make these things, so they've modelled their own, or not modelled, because these are not DSP. They've modelled the circuitry into a more compact sort of surface mount, I guess, affordable way to get the sound. And if anyone could do it, they can. It's just a really interesting idea. And I wondered what everybody thought about these. I'll come to you first, Matt, because USB audio interfaces are hard to get excited about, but, sometimes one can. I don't know, because what do you use? You use the Behringer, don't you? Do you use the Behringer X32 as your interface? Or
For me, yeah. I've got the Behringer X32 rack just sat down there out the way just because I need loads of analog inputs, and it was kind of cheap, and you've got a mix built in and DSP and that kind of thing. At BIM, we've got a lot of the Focusrite 2i2s pretty much everywhere, just because they're simple, but we might have to look at updating those as we go to USB-C eventually. But these, obviously, these guys, some of them, they come with that 76 compressor built into that. I guess that's on the input, so you can track with it.
I think so, yeah. I think that's what it is.
Right, and you've got that kind of tube preamp thing going on. I love the design of these as well. I'm liking this kind of shift to kind of a sort of more robust, old school approach with the, I don't know, just the vibe on it. It's less sci-fi 90s. It actually looks like it's more come out of 1950s control room or something,
Yeah, they start they start with a 1 and they go to 2, and then you get a 2 input, 2 output, and then you get the 76 ones, which have the sort of desktop vibe. I've just realised, rather embarrassingly, that I didn't play a message from our friends over at Isotope. So before I come to you, Gaz, do you mind if I just pop that in there? I feel a little bit ashamed that
Do it.
I've done my duties.
Isotope Producers Club is a one-of-a-kind membership for producers ready to take their tracks to the next level. Once you join, you'll gain access to powerhouse Isotope plugins and a curated selection of tools from our partners, such as Melodyne from Celemony. Plus, as long as you're a member, you'll get every future update to the Isotope plugins in your membership for no extra cost. We'll also regularly serve you new curated content like exclusive inspiration-sparking sample packs and preset packs, and industry-leading training ranging from our own tutorials to vocal production lessons from the world-renowned Berklee Online, taught by Grammy-winning producer and engineer Prince Charles Alexander. With new content being added every month full of valuable production techniques, tips and tricks, and solutions to common production problems, becoming a member is an investment in your career that grows as you and your career do. For more information on Isotope Producers Club, head to isotope.com.
And we also, if you head over to isotope.com/sonictalk, you get a special landing page where I believe there's a deal on, actually interesting, the Music Production Suite Pro. You get all the Pro versions, which actually, they're the really expensive ones. So you get all the metering, all the kind of really fancy stuff. So do check that out. And we thank them very much for their support. Very much appreciated. Gaz, sorry, had you finished, Matt? I did cut you off. I hopefully...
Just the last thing to just mention with these, what I really love is that they just, obviously with them being USB-C, they become iPad interfaces.
Yes, they are class compliant. They will work directly. Yeah,
which is brilliant. I think it's kind of taken the industry a little bit longer than I thought to really make this just so much everywhere. Remember when I first got my iPad way back when, and it was just so hard to interface anything with it. And now,
well, it has been. It was for about 5 years, to be fair,
hasn't it? Yeah, I just kind of feel like we've been a bit slow to get to this point now, where it's just plug and play with your iPad. Great, now you've got a universal audio preamps and straight on as the front end. I mean, that's an amazing thing, right? I think we shouldn't forget that, because the iPads and all that, the powerhouse in those, they're getting better and better, aren't they? Isn't it?
Yeah, so Gaz, I know you had. Did you have some UA mic preamps, the 6, whatever they were? Do I remember you had one or two?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had the desktop system, the DCS. Sadly died, but and they couldn't get it fixed. But that was a bit of a collaboration with what were they called? I can't remember. Anyway, this is quite interesting. well, one thing that I think certainly is a talking point, though, is how we've seen the more kind of luxury brands, shall we say, like SSL now, Universal Audio, making $120 kind of audio interfaces.
Yeah, they start about there, don't they? They start at £120 and go up to $320 for the Volt 476.
Right. Arturia have just made
the mini fuse
an entry into this same kind of market area. As I mentioned, SSL, some eyebrows are raised with that. So it's clear that that this area, this market, this segment is a very, very hotly contested one. So it's kind of imperative for companies to have like a special USP. So Universal Audio having their own legacy to be able to sort of dip into, with the
well, they've got,
is it the 610?
Yeah, world class. They've got world class analog engineers as well as DSP engineers. So why wouldn't
right? Yeah. Quite like the wood end cheeks as well.
Yeah, I've seen them. They've all got MIDI in and out on them, which is actually pretty cool. All of them, which I think is a nice plus.
Little one. Yeah. But it really is this thing when you look at it's such a crowded market, so it's kind of crucial. I mean, one thing that always bugs me though is just like single inputs.
That starts at a single input. That's why.
I know. But just to have like one mic preamp, but then have another line input, it just seems just that bit too stingy. I think one input is always going to be a limitation.
It's probably price. It's probably price point, to be honest. I mean, because it's going to just cost they can start them much more I have an interesting. I mean, I wonder whether all these companies are doing it and Universal Audio are doing it as well, because as these computers become more and more powerful, kind of onboard DSP is less and less of an issue, because we can get particularly with the new M1s chips and it moves stuff with Intel as well. Whether now it's like that's not such a big deal. I mean, it now comes to be a point as to whether some of these companies who've licensed their unique hardware to people like Universal Audio and other companies as well are just going, well, that contract point is up, we're going to open it up to everybody soon. So they're looking at ways to actually just leverage hardware and utilize that way.
Well, I mean, for years and years, and I mean, I could get in trouble saying this, but for years and years and years, Universal Audio have been sort of like doing a bit of a sly thing, really, by selling their UAD platform with woefully rubbish DSP power, really, compared to what your computers could do natively. They were really, really, really not very powerful at all. So they were really having to make their... they want people buying their plugins that are locked into their DSP platform.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, in their defense, I don't know how much more, how much better. Because the thing about having more DSP or DSP dedicated to your thing is you don't have to optimize as much. You can make it really kind of special and work at higher sample rates. So it may be that they're not any less powerful. They're just using more of it to make it better. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, but I mean, people kind of fell for something just thinking, oh no, but it's kind of vintage DSP,
if there's a thing. All right, okay, without being too... So here's one for everybody. What is it that makes the perfect USB audio interface? What are you looking for? What do you want from... Because, I mean, for me... I'll start, because for me there's two sorts. There's the one you can just go, I need a DSP interface, plug in, I need a little one like this actually. I can plug in, it'll give me MIDI, it'll give me audio, give me a headphone out, and I can just do whatever. Then I've got the other one, which is something like the Behringer XR18, which is a full mixing desk kind of DSP platform alongside it, which gives me much more capability. So those are the two things. But so I'm not sure what I need at a minimum. What do you think? What do you use?
Well, I use quite a few different ones, but my favorite one, which I don't have, that I would say is almost the perfect interface, is the Babyface Pro FS from RME. I think is just in terms of the feature set and the operation of it, and it's just absolutely amazing. And crucially, I think it's that ADAT expansion thing. So you've got a small a small audio interface, but that you could add those additional inputs as and when you need it, or to be able to have maybe a rack of preamps that you then connect up. That would be a minimum for me, really. I think is something that has that. There's a great one from Audient, the ID4 Plus or something. I'm not sure if that's ID14. I think maybe it's called. Which again, nice little desktop unit with some really useful hardware controls on there, and that ADAT expansion as well. It's interesting, but I mean, certainly stereo line inputs, I think. Any of these single inputs, I think, is just a real shame. So I think, if it's, I don't know how much. What's the difference in with these universal audio ones between the 1 and the 2 sort of input? I mean,
I think it's about
if it's like
40 quid, 30, 40 quid.
Yeah.
I think.
So so I think just don't buy a single input or interface, because you will want to expand that at some point. But otherwise, crucially...
Here we go. Hold on. I beg your pardon. Volt 1, 120 is the 1 input one, and 165 is the 2 input one. So okay, I take your point.
But I mean, for something as important as your audio interface, essentially that centerpiece of your studio, don't skimp on that side of things. Get at least 2 inputs. But I like some features that I like. That Audient has it. Some Steinberg ones have done it as well, where you've got a control that can be whatever the mouse is hovering above. It's like a mouse wheel control, but just
it becomes an audio. Yeah, so the Audient. I'm just wondering what's it called. Audient 4 Plus. Is that what it is?
Yeah, maybe. Or there are 14. I think it was the one. That's got the
14. Is that the one? Let me have a look.
But it's got that's got like some, that just makes use of the hardware interface, really, because
that's 179. That's not bad, is it?
Yeah,
it's
pretty good.
And USB-C, not universal audio. Audient make good, pretty decent mic inputs. I mean, the thing is, it's hard to get Class A inputs into something that I'd imagine with USB-C, because you can pull more power over USB-C port. That means that you're much more able to put in, better quality, higher voltage pull for the mic amps. So that would make it better. Yeah. So maybe that's the answer. Matt, what about you? I mean, you went for the X32. I mean, that makes total sense, because it just does everything all at once. And I recently did this Dream Studio thing, and they said, what audio interface do you want? And I said, I'll have an X32. And they went,
Yeah.
And it comes with one as standard, so they had to give me it, and it was a bit of a bending of the rules, but it is. I mean, it's something like that.
I think they're great. For me, I'm just tracking audio. So you just load up your preset, inputs going in, it sounds clean. And some people may argue that because it's Behringer or whatever. But I actually have no problems with the sound of it. And it sits out of the way. I don't have a mixing desk. So I do all of the mixing when I'm making music in the Modular. I'm mixing as I'm producing.
You do that in the box?
No, in the Modular. So I've got multiple mixers, and then what I do is I use splitter cables to split the signal from different points in the signal chain. So I might take it after a filter or just after a VCA on a particular sound, and I'll take that as input 1, and I might take kick drum as input 2. So I do multi-track everything, but more often than not, everything that I've released this year has just been the stereo mix as I've produced and recorded it, and no mixing afterwards, just a little bit of limiting and some light EQing to master it up, and then it goes out, and that's all I use. The other thing, though, that I do get excited about, if I was to go the other way, I really love the mixing desk consoles that are just USB. Something like the Tascam Model 24, which is 24 channels, USB, because I do love having faders, I must admit, and I like to use my guitar pedals on auxiliary sends, particularly things like the Strymon El Capistan for delays. Yeah, that bad boy.
That looks pretty good.
The only reason I didn't get that is because it is pre-fader sends, and you can't change that. So for me, it wouldn't make sense. You've got a mix up on that board. You want to print your mix. You want all your individual channels at all your different volume levels, and you want to print that. It doesn't. It takes it pre-fader. I think it takes it just after the mic input. So basically,
well, you can choose. You can choose on the X32 where you want it.
You can choose on the X32. Whereas with the Tascam one, you would have to essentially remix your whole session once you record it into DAW, which don't make any sense to me. Why isn't there a little switch that says just goes post fader? I would be all over something like that. I do like that. I used to have the Tascam DM24 back in the day, which was Firewire, 24 channels in and out, effects on board, TC effects, and I loved that. I just thought it was really good. But the screens kept breaking on it, and the trim pots on the mic inputs were a bit iffy.
Oh, it's a shame, isn't it?
So they're the two routes I'd go. I'd either like the XR, loads of analog inputs. There is another one, and I've been trying to find this. My mate had it. He doesn't have it anymore, and it's a rack mount, and it's an audio interface, but you can just record straight to an SD card, multi-track, and you literally just turn it on. There's a big button on the front. You press it.
Is it Allen and Heath? Might be an Allen and Heath.
It might be the Allen and Heath, yes. And it will record, I think it's 18 or 24 tracks straight to the USB. You don't even have to turn on a computer. And I love that, because sometimes I don't want to have to turn on a computer just to multi-track what I'm doing in Eurorack. One of the reasons I'm using Eurorack is because I don't want to look at the computer sometimes. So I love that. Is it one of those? It might be.
I'm just looking.
It might be a Tascam one. Anyone in the chat room?
QU, because there's QU, I think was maybe no, I've already done the QU. What was it?
I wish I could remember what it was.
SQ. No, that looks further up the food chain than that. So I know that, for instance, Charles Chicky Reeves uses one of the Allen Heaths. I forget which one it is, and he just says the design is, certainly for live mixing, is amazing, because all the stuff happens on stage. So if your mixer out front goes down, it's really just a control surface. All the DSP is on stage. So you could just have someone with a laptop and the software can carry on running the show if your front of house thing goes down. It's really interesting, sort of. But anyway, that's beside the point. I just thought it was an interesting idea to think, what do we want from one? Because, everybody goes, oh, they're so boring. And it's like, well, okay, what would it need? I mean, I guess MIDI I/O is useful, all that kind of...
I noticed one thing that these Universal Audio ones don't have, sadly, for small boxes, is that just really simple mix knob that is between
mix direct kind of thing.
And direct. There is there is a direct button on there. I'm not sure if you can use it as a sort of, as a blend, but it's just so simple, isn't it? When you just literally more of me, more of the backing, and it's down to that being able to set
that's
that
helpful
with a single knob. Especially for people who are beginners or new to recording. So I think that would be an essential thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't want to dwell too much on it, but yeah, I think it's an interesting exercise, isn't it? Okay. So what is it? Do you? There was another topic, but I think we're probably going to run out of time. So I was going to get onto the picks, which, as we know, it's a sort of periodic. We ask our users our guests to come up with a sort of pick for the week. We'll start with Gaz's, because Gaz was, as if I can find the right thing. It's there we go. This is the if I press the button here, this is the Knobotron knob caps, which is an interesting while you tell me about it, I'm going to try and find the page, because I did have a page.
Okay, well, it's another invention from Geert Bevan, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, and you just press them over control knobs. Like this is a Korg SQ1, and they're
UV reactive as well.
Yeah, reactive. Yeah. Oh. So yeah, and you can get them. Yeah, there's a big range now that you can get them for. I think that's all listed on the website. But yeah, so it looked good for on stage,
for live as well. Yeah, quite handy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming you got some UV light. Oh, look, there we go. A Volca. There's a Volca one.
Yeah. So you can get them for all the different Volcas.
Very photogenic, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they're very photogenic, and you just simply press them over the knobs. There's no tools or anything needed.
They look like kind of elastic bands. Are they like kind of scrunchies for knobs?
No, they're solid plastic.
Are they? They don't stretch. They're okay. I was just
no. And they're designed as such that they don't clash, they don't knock into each other when they pass by, so they're but quite useful on something like this, because it's difficult to sort of see where the knobs are positioned really, but with the pointers, so it's cute, it's a nice little idea, and I think definitely good for people who are visually impaired as well, I think.
Yeah, that's a really cool, actually. Nice one.
Yeah.
Nice. Fine, Gaz. That's a very handy one. And they're not, I don't know how expensive they are, actually. I should probably...
they're very affordable.
Very affordable.
Yeah.
Nice.
What are they, like, I'm not sure, $10 or something?
I've lost the page. I've got so many windows open, I can't see it anymore. And Matt, you also were saying that yours was Sugar Bytes Nest. So if I just let me see, I am looking for this.
Yeah, check this out.
I
don't know if people in the chat room have come across this. This is essentially a modular sequencer.
It's software, presumably, yes? It's sort of...
so it's not a modular synthesizer, it's a modular sequencer. So it allows you to get to all that interesting stuff you would do in modular, which, to my mind, is really what modular is about. It's the sequencing aspects, it's not just the sound. So it allows you to do all of the kind of interesting stuff with clock divisions, and you can basically get 8 channels that you can send to your VSTs, or it's got onboard sounds in there, drum machines and that kind of thing. And it's just a really interesting approach to sequencing. I just really like it. For anyone who's sick of opening up their DAW and typing in the MIDI notes and starting with a blank canvas, this is a really, really interesting concept and can be quite inspiring, get you thinking in different ways about composition, basically.
And it's $99. It's not particularly, it's not the cheapest of things. I'm just trying to see what formats does it work in. It's
but it comes with its own synthesizers, drum machines,
okay, right,
as well as the actual kind of concept and sequencer itself. And you can have multiple instances of it running. And it takes a while to get your head around it if you don't know how to do this, I must admit. So there's a learning curve with it. But I'm going to do some videos on this, actually, using Nest, because there's not many out there except for what they've done. So stay tuned to the channel, and I'll do some videos at some point.
Excellent. Good choice. Well, thank you very much for that. I've got, let's see if I can find mine now. This one, which is, I don't think I've got, if I press that, and then I press that. This is, what am I looking for? Gosh, I've lost it now. Decent sampler. Now, this actually, I'm going to give Luke Pop the props for this one, because he released some video, some sample packs for his on his Patreon, and this is basically a VST sampler that you can make your own presets. You can skin it as well, so you can put your own graphics in, and it's just a text file. I mean, you do need to, so you can make all your samples. If you've got a decent text editor, you could just make these things, compile it, and it works on Mac, Windows, and iOS as well, I believe, and it's free. So if you wanted to distribute some sounds, or and make a certain thing that you like the way it looks, this is a really cool method. So decentsamples.com is the place to check that out. It's just we'll probably do some stuff with it. I've emailed the guy and asked if it's okay, and I should ask Luke Pop if he minds as well, because he kind of discovered it and he was using it first. But seems like a really good way to move samples around, and just sort of, so if you want to go, here's a load of kicks from whatever synth I've been reviewing or whatever, here's a sample pack, and you can just load it. It just works on zipped as well, so it's really easy to load presets and all that stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I've just found the audio interface I was talking about. It's the Allen and Heath ICE 16. I put a link to it in the chat, but it's a 1U 16 channel audio interface, and you can record straight to to the USB stick right on the front. There's a little record button and play button and that. So that's the one I was looking for. Alan Heath ICE 16.
Okay, let's have a look. I'll see if I can bring that up. Okay. ICE
First
16.
link, yeah, that's the jobby.
So it's kind of like the what's that? The company that the Black Box. I've forgotten who made those, but they it's very similar sort of idea.
Yeah.
And they use those sort of thing in installations. In fact, his was put one of the ones they got put in Disneyland. So they were playing It's a Small World, going round and round forever on his products, which I'm not sure is a great legacy to have. And but you know, someone's got to do it. It's a tough job, right? That looks interesting. What do they cost?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to turn on your computer. It's standalone without a computer. You've got your little metering on the front, so you know if you're clipping or not, or if you're getting decent signal in. You hit record, you've got 16 channels of multi-track, and then you chuck it in your DAW when you want to mix it or whatever.
Oh, it's old. It's got Firewire ports on it. That's why.
Yeah,
I don't know. It might be discontinued.
discontinued.
That's a shame.
Yeah. This is how I like to use my blue box, which is just over my shoulder, just right. And that's kind of cool because that acts as my kind of it's where all the modular ends up into the blue box, and then that lets you kind of record. Either you can record, you can just arm the master track and make a mix down, or you can arm each individual track. And
the only thing about it is you can't, because I did the same. The only thing I don't like is I want to be able to record those effects separately and everything dry, and I couldn't. It's not possible to do that, which was a shame.
Well, I chatted with Aaron at from 1010 at Super Booth, and because of course the black box version 2 I think has just dropped. I think maybe yesterday.
Yeah, I think on the 10th.
What a fantastic thing the black box is. It's amazing little sampler unit there, and I think with this version 2 that just really does take it to the next level. So I was curious to see what was I asked him what the future for the blue box is, and there's definitely interesting stuff coming for that. So Nick, if I think make a request there to record those the audio, the effect as separate tracks. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I did try. I think that's been mentioned for a while. We were watching the forums when I reviewed it a while back. I did. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Di Stanton for. Oh, you on tonight? Di Stanton's paid $5 to find out whether you've got a show tonight, Gaz. So, have you?
Sadly not, I'm afraid, because I know I just feel bad now. Because I've had a couple of shows. I took my show off air for a bit to have a break.
Well, you're busy, haven't you? You've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Crikey.
But tonight I've been invited by Fontaines DC, which are an amazing band from Dublin who are playing in Bristol tonight too. So I'm on the guest list for the show tonight, and I couldn't resist it. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm gonna go to the show.
Why not?
I've got some cool guests lined up for future shows, and I've got some really nice ideas. I feel a bit recharged, and I'm raring to get back at it though. So please don't lose the faith. I will be back, and I'm going to try and be back semi-regular. I'm also hoping to do a little bit of live vlogging from the tour when I'm out on the tour as well, because I think that might be quite interesting.
Yeah, I saw the one when you were out sailing while the poor bloke did all the man work lugging the boat around. You were going, guess where I am? And he was like, I hope he dunked you for it.
Well, I mean, I've got the iPhone 13 Pro now, and it's got that fantastic cinematic mode for making videos on the fly. So my plan was, when my friend Andy Fung asked me if we wanted to go out sailing, I was like, I'll go and I'll film it, and we'll
You dropped it. Did you drop it over the side?
Oh, but I mean, the 7. The 7 in between, the Bristol Channel really is. When I first started filming, we were just in the bay, and it was quite gentle. But as soon as you get out into the,
one of the largest tidal ranges in the world. That river. Not many people know that.
And I tell you what, I just holding on to the phone. I needed 2 hands to cling on for dear life.
So you couldn't help that either.
No, I was doing on a tiller. I was operating the tiller, so I was. I'm
only pulling.
And that was a battle as well, And God, the sea takes no prisoners, does it?
No, you've really got to watch out. Well, no, I'm glad to hear you've got it. Matt, you must have stuff coming up. I know you did your released, which was a great
my last
video.
release was called Release.
Yeah.
So that's just gone live now. I'm just working on this month's track. I don't think I'm going to do any more live shows for the remainder of the year. I'm just going to do more, just focus on the studio, rewire, get my new modular up, and get back in doing some more live streaming, like Gaz is going to as well. I'm just finding a little bit more space to do that, and I've got a few interesting things I want to go over and do. So it's just a lot of making music, and I'm really enjoying it. This year's been so good, doing one track a month and putting it out, and that discipline. And I recommend it to anyone, just setting yourself.
I wish I had the time.
Yeah, but you kind of have to make the time. Sometimes I've been sat there 2 days before the end of the month, and I'm just like, I haven't done anything. And it gets you into that zone, and you just don't want to let yourself down. All the people that's sort of following you on Bandcamp and YouTube and what have you. So you kind of add that pressure to yourself. And when you get it out into the world, it feels good. So I really recommend it if anyone needs a way of finishing tracks, just setting that deadline for yourself. It's
interesting. Well, I tell you, because I've just posted, I thought I'd post on Facebook to kind of all those people that wonder what I do on a Wednesday afternoon. And I thought, I wonder how long that's. June 2006 was the first Sonic Talk podcast. So that's a really, really long time. So that's the only thing about when you commit to something like that, you can find that it stays with you for a really long time, and you just can't shake it.
Wow. Well done, you see.
Well, thanks to you all and everybody. It's not just me, but yeah.
I've had something quite interesting I've been doing recently, is sort of doing some modular jamming with somebody else. And I hadn't done that since I started my modular journey. I've been doing it kind of on my own. And as soon as you're connected to somebody else, it's a really fascinating process. We were listening back to the initial jams we were doing, and we were both realizing that we were both doing too much. You've got such a range of frequencies that you can nab.
Yeah.
That as soon as you're working with someone else, trying to find a space. We weren't doing he wasn't doing beats and I was doing, we were both doing kind of melodic parts or textural parts, and just trying to find ways to interact with each other. And the more we've been doing it, the better we're getting at it by being more and more kind of minimal in the approach.
Sparser, yeah. I know, I totally agree. That's why I love duophonic synthesizers, because you've just got to make those two notes count. They've got to say something.
Yeah. But it's the thing for me though that it's done is it's made me think about the kind of modules that I'd want to either put into a rack for doing this, or ones that I need to get. Just because I think with my little journey into modular, I didn't really know why I was doing it. Really, I was just doing it because I felt I had to. But now I'm starting to find that the area that I want to really explore more with that is melody, and to do, and to be like the kind of like the lead guitarist in a modular kind of way, doing top lines and melodies. That's what I'm being.
What you need is that Waldorf keyboard thing with a. Like wear it like a guitar. So your modular, it becomes a keytar. How about that? That would be pretty awesome.
What, a modular keytar?
And instead of tassels, you could just have really long patch cables.
That's heavy, though.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Have you ever seen anyone do that with a modular?
Yeah, was it Henry? Was it oops, beg your pardon, wrong button. And again, the Henry Winter. Is it the Henry Winter? What's the initial?
No, Edgar Winter.
Edgar Winter. Didn't he have a modular style?
Well, it was a controller.
Or was it more of just a controller?
It was a controller for. Was it a 2600 or
maybe
2500?
Like
I can't remember. Yeah. But he was using. No, but I'm talking about actually sort of wearing a rack. I sort of. Patching, doing like a wiggly solo, just super fast patching.
What we could maybe do, Gaz, is we could have a modular synth each on our chests facing
Yeah.
each other, and we could be like patching from one to another and playing with each other's sort of chest modular.
It could. Yeah. So you could like the MTV modular death match, but not with no death, just patch match, modular patch match. Hold on, I'm going to write that down. That could be a title, possibly. Modular patch match. Might be a bit long. Yeah. Modular patch match, right? Modular. I'll just write that down.
But yeah, I've seen someone who's done that kind of thing, and they got the derp for. Have you? I don't know if you've seen the derp for stick. You can get gas. Yeah. Which is really cool, and you can run that through a quantizer.
No, but you would end up looking like David Vorhaus with that thing that just looked like a massive dildo, which is really inappropriate.
That guy.
Don't you remember? There's that shot. It's like I can't remember. Yeah. It's one of the early Tomorrow's World presenters who was a lady, and she was also quite a nap. You know, he's obviously got some kind of animal magnetism because she was fawning, and he was standing there with his check out my. Yeah, it was a bit like,
was definitely
didn't like
intentional.
that. Didn't like that much. Yeah, it was a little bit. I don't think you get away with that these days.
No,
not standing in a room with a film crew. I mean, maybe on stage you could probably pull it off, but yeah, you have to be careful.
Oh, do you want to pull it off on stage?
No, let's not go there. Anyway, thank you everybody. It really enjoyed. And for those of you who perhaps haven't checked it out, I thoroughly encourage you. I know it does mean a Patreon, but the last couple of Friday 5 minutes was the Roland SH1, which was Chris from Battery Operated Orchestra, and he's also done one with the CZ01. And we said, is there any chance you could give us some extra stuff for Patreon? And he's given us 2 40-minute pieces, which are sort of a love letter to those sims. So you got that's this month on Patreon. We've got 80 minutes of extra bonus video as well as all the other stuff we post. So if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what does. Anyway, I just thought I'd do one last plug. Folks, it's been such fun as ever. Lovely to have you back and see you all again in person. It's been, well, not in person, but you know what I mean. You haven't been on for ages, is what I was trying to say. So thank you very much. That would have been, well, that was. Nice. It was Sonic Talk, episode 687. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye now.